The other guy only fights for himself. And DeKalb County, I'm glad to see you here. I'm glad to see you here. You look beautiful, by the way. You look beautiful. I'm glad to see you here, but for these next few days, we also need you out there, knocking on doors, making phone calls, making sure your cousin and your neighbor vote, and your cousin's neighbor and your neighbor's cousin vote. You hear me, DeKalb County? John Lewis. Congressman John Lewis. John Lewis bled on that bridge so we could rise to this moment, Georgia. He was 25 years old, and they broke his skull for daring to demand the right to vote. In Georgia, you have proven again and again the power of that vote, even when they counted you out. When Raphael and I were running 4 years ago, they said it was impossible. But then you picked me up, and you picked Raphael up, and you carried us on your shoulders. You did that, Georgia. And when the whole nation looked to Georgia, you elected to the U.S. Senate a black pastor who holds Dr. King's pulpit at Ebenezer Baptist Church and the young Jewish son of an immigrant. You did that, Georgia. Well, Georgia, now the whole nation looks to us again. Georgia, the whole nation looks to us again to elect Kamala Harris and turn the page on Donald Trump once and for all. So, Georgia, are you ready to work? Georgia, are you ready to win? 12 more days. Let's go. Thank you so much. Thank you.
everyone. My name is Chastity Singleton, and I am a freshman at Georgia State University. This week, I was proud to vote for the very first time, and it's the greatest and it is the greatest honor of my life to go from casting my very first ballot for Vice President Harris to sharing a stage with her tonight in my home state. I have always understood the importance of service to my church, service to my community, and to my neighbors. That's why I was so excited to vote early this week, because I know Vice President Harris shares these values too. Vice President Harris was raised in a church, like me, that taught her to see strangers as our neighbors. Last Sunday, at a church right here in Georgia, she reminded us that we have more in common than what separates us. The Vice President has worked for the people her entire career, and now she's fighting for a new way forward for young people like me and folks across the country so that we can not just get by, but get ahead. She's fighting to earn the burden of student debt. She's fighting to protect our basic reproductive freedom. She's fighting to lower housing costs and make it easier for young people like me to get a jump start. Donald Trump, on the other hand, is running because he wants to help one man, himself. But Georgians won't let our country go back. 16 years ago, our country chose hope. 16 years ago, my parents got to cast their vote for President Barack Obama and help make history. Now, I am proud to be playing a part in helping make history when we turn Georgia blue again and send Vice President Harris to the White House. Georgia, join me in choosing a new way forward in electing Kamala Harris as our next president.
Please welcome the boss, Bruce Springsteen.
Evening, Atlanta. On around Snake Speedway in the Utah desert, I pick up my money, head back into town, driving across the Waynesboro County line. I got the radio on, and I'm just killing time, working all day in my dad's garage, driving all night, chasing some mirage. Well, pretty soon, darling, I'm gonna take charge. Well, the dogs on Main Street howl, 'cause they understand. If I could take one moment into my hands, mister, I ain't a boy, know I'm a man, and I believe in the promised land. Done my best now to live the right way. I get up every morning and go to work each day. But your eyes go blind and your blood runs cold. Sometimes I feel so weak, I just want to explode. Explode and tear this whole town apart. Take a knife and cut this pain from my heart. Find somebody itching for something to start. Well, the dogs on Main Street howl, 'cause they understand. If I could take this moment into my hands, mister, I ain't a boy, no, I'm a man, and I believe in the promised land. Now there's a dark cloud rising from the desert floor. I packed my bags and I'm headed straight into the storm. Gonna be a twister to blow everything down that ain't got the faith to stand its ground. Blow away the dreams that tear you apart. Blow away the dreams that break your heart. Blow away the lies that leave you nothing but lost and broken hearted. Well, the dogs on Main Street howl, 'cause they understand. If I could take this moment into my hands, mister, I ain't a boy, no, I'm a man, and I believe in the promised land, and I believe in the promised land, and I believe in the promised land. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I'm Bruce Springsteen, and I am here today to support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz for President and Vice President of the United States, and to oppose Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Now, here's why. I want a president who reveres the Constitution, who does not threaten but wants to protect and guide our great democracy, who believes in the rule of law and the peaceful transfer of power, who will fight for a woman's right to choose, and who wants to create a middle-class economy that will serve all our citizens. There is only one candidate in this election who holds those principles dear: Kamala Harris. She's running to be the 47th President of the United States. Donald Trump is running to be an American tyrant. He does not understand this country, its history, or what it means to be deeply American. And that's why November 5th, I'm casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I urge all of you who believe in the American way to join me. Thank you. This is land of hope and dreams. Grab your ticket and your suitcase. Thunder's rolling down this track. you don't know where you're going now, but you know you won't be back. Well, darling, if you're weary, lay your head upon my chest. Yeah, we'll take what we can carry. Well, on this train, faith will be rewarded on this train. Hear the steel wheels singing on this train, the bells of freedom ringing. Well, big wheels roll through fields where sunlight streams. Now it's time for some entertainment. Radio's on and I'm moving around the place, checking my look in the mirror. Wanna change my clothes, my hair, my face. Man, I ain't getting nowhere. Just living in a dump like this, there's something happening somewhere. Baby, I just know there is. just dancing in the dark. Sit around getting older. There's a joke here somewhere and it's on me. Shake this world off my shoulders. Come on, baby, have a laugh on me. Stay on the streets of this town, and they'll be carving you up all right. Say you gotta stay hungry. Well, I'm just about starving tonight. I'm dying for some action. I'm sick of sitting around here trying to write this book. I need a love reaction. Come on now, baby, give me just one look. You can't start a fire sitting around crying over a broken heart. This gun's for hire. Even if we're just dancing in the dark, you can't start a fire worrying about your little world falling apart. This gun's for hire. Even if we're just dancing in the dark, even if we're just dancing in the dark. Thank you, Atlanta. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz for President and Vice President. Get out there and vote. One, two, three, My baby don't mess around because she loves me so, and this I know for sure. But does she really wanna? But can't stand to see me walk out the door. Don't try to fight the feeling, 'cause the thought alone is killing me right now.
Y'all don't want to hear me, you just want to dance. Don't want to meet your daddy. Just want you in my caddy. Don't want to meet your mama. Just want to make you come up. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. Hey, all right now, fellas. Yeah. Now what's cooler than being cool? Ice cold. I can't hear you. I say what's cooler than being cool? Ice cold. All right. Okay, now ladies. Now we gonna break this thing down in just a few seconds. Now don't have me break this thing down for nothing. Now I wanna see y'all on y'all baddest behavior. Lend me some sugar. I am your neighbor. Here we go. Shake it, 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 shake it like a Polaroid picture. Hey, shake it, 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 sugar, shake it like a Polaroid. Now all Beyonce's and Lucy Lou's and baby dolls, get on the floor. Get on the floor like a Polaroid picture. Sugar, shake it, you know what to shake it. Sugar, shake it, shake it, sugar, shake it like a Polaroid picture.
Please welcome Georgia Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock.
Well, hello, Georgia! Wow! Well, listen, I just landed on a plane back from Battleground, Pennsylvania, but I had to get back to Georgia to welcome the next President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris, and the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz, to Battleground, Georgia. Back in 2021, Georgia literally saved the country and in my best Georgia accent and way, let me say that we're fixing to do it again. Are you ready to win this election? Hear me tonight. I know that we are in the midst of a political election. But hear the pastor tonight when I say to you that this is more than an election. It is a moral moment America. It's really hard to overstate how much is at stake. Here's the thing, we already know who Donald Trump is. That's not what this election is about. It's about who are we. I still believe that the American people at the end of the day are going to embrace that age-old American covenant, e pluribus unum, out of many one, because we know that we stand together, that we are connected, that we need each other, that we need our neighbors, that there are not enemies within. We may have differences of opinion. Earlier today, I was standing with Republicans in Pennsylvania, and then later I was standing with brothers, black men in the barbershop. Earlier before that, I was standing with students. The truth is, we need everybody. We need all hands on deck. Are you ready to show up? So let me defy Baptist gravity and be brief. There's a lot of talk these days about what black men are going to do. Let me speak to that for just a moment. Let me say that I do not believe that there's going to be this wave. I do not believe that significant numbers of black men are going to vote for the likes of Donald Trump. I don't believe that. Now, we are not a monolith. There will be some, but there won't be this wave. After all, we know who Donald Trump is. We're not confused. We know that this is the man who was held accountable by the Justice Department because he wouldn't even rent apartments to black people. We know who Donald Trump is. We know that this is the man who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times and said that 5 young men of color who had been accused of a heinous crime should receive the death penalty. And when it became clear that they were not guilty, when the Central Park 5 became the exonerated 5, he said he still stood by what he said. We know who Donald Trump is. This is the man who entered into the political arena on a racist birther lie that the first African-American president was not born here. We know what he was up to. He was trying to say, you're not one of us. But I believe that the American people will reject this hatred, will reject this bigotry. We understand that we are one people. Are you ready to stand together and win this election? Are you ready to stand on behalf of truth and righteousness and justice? And so let's do the moral work. Let's do the hard moral work that we will have to do even after November 5th to redeem the soul of our nation. I know that we can do it. We've seen hard times before. We've been through tough struggles before. But I believe that we will get this done. Now, there are times when I grow weary. All of this hate, all of this terrible rhetoric we've been hearing ever since he came down that elevator, public discourse in America has been going down. And every now and then I grow weary, and when I grow weary, I look up, and because I'm a preacher, I'd love to tell you that I see something profound in the heavens. But all I really see is birds flying by. but I like to see geese fly. Why? Because geese fly in a V formation. And the one out front who is getting all the glory and all of the sunlight, the wind on his face, believe it or not, the one out front is actually working the hardest. But what I like about geese is that when the one out front finally gets tired, he just moves further back in the formation, and when he moves back, she moves up and takes his place. And what I like about geese is that geese do this without an insurrection. Geese do this without shutting the geese government down. That's because geese understand that my individual location is not as important as our collective destination. We are one people. Let's stand together. Let's rise together. Let's win this American moment together. God bless you.
Please welcome award-winning filmmaker and philanthropist, Tyler Perry.
Hello, Georgia. Hello, hello, hello. I got to tell you, I've been a resident here for a little more than 30 years, so I know a few things about Georgia. What I want to share with you today is that this is where I found the American dream for myself. And lately I found myself having my feet in two different worlds. One where I'm talking to very wealthy people at their table, and then I come to work and I'm talking to people who work for me about everyday problems and everyday issues. So it puts me in a very, very peculiar spot to be able to talk to you. And I'm grateful for that, having my feet in both those worlds, because I still remember what it was like to stand at the Winn-Dixie on Buford Highway and have $20 and try to figure out, how do I make this meal work for the week? I know what it's like to have my landlord knocking at the door and I'm in the bed hiding because I don't want him to knock on the door because I know he has an eviction notice. I know what it's like to be homeless here in Georgia. I know what it's like to have to scrape up enough money to get to stay at a pay-by-the-week hotel off of Buford Highway. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to sleep in my car wrapped in my grandmother's quilt because I had no place to go. I know what it's like to come from work and walk outside and realize that my car has been repossessed. So make no mistake, I know and I remember how hard it is, and I remember the struggle, and I also know, hear me, how expensive it is to be poor. But I also believed in an American dream. And when I was coming here to Georgia, I was looking for inspiration, and there was this show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And there was a man on there that I really admired, I looked up to. He had a helicopter, and his name was on hotels all over the place. He was, hold on just a second, let me get through this so you hear what I'm saying. Young black men admired him because his name was in rap lyrics. So when I first started making a little money, the first thing I did was checked into the Trump Hotel because I wanted to feel that specialness. But then I started to do my research. Research is important. Truth is important. Facts are important.
I found out about a discrimination lawsuit against he and his father because they didn't want people like me in their building. I found out about him taking a full-page ad out on young black men in the New York Times. I found out about the birther lie. We all heard it, saying that Barack Obama was not born in this country. There are undertones there and there are echoes there that we all had to pay attention to. So I watched him when he won the presidency. I watched him say that there were good people on both sides when neo-Nazis were screaming, "Jews will not replace us." I watched him from the Central Park 5 to Project 2025. And what I realized is that in this Donald Trump America, there is no dream that looks like me. We want a president who believes that this American dream is for everyone. And that president is Kamala Harris. We want a president that understands, like I did in Georgia when I came here, I didn't have anything, but I had a dream. So I worked, and against all odds, I worked my way to where I am now. It was here in Georgia. See, in Georgia, you know what we do? We don't sit around and complaining. We go to work. It was here where I became a studio owner. My first studio was on Krog Street. Now that is Krog Street Market. And then I bought another studio, which was on Greenbrier, right near Greenbrier Mall on Continental Colony Parkway. And it was there that Barack Obama came in 2012 to do a fundraiser. And he was getting ready to leave, and he said, "Come ride with me. We're going to my house for a fundraiser." And I'm like, "Wait, you want me to ride with you in the Beast?" So I get in the car, and traffic is stopped, and we're riding, and he's talking to me. And for those of you who are old enough to remember Charlie Brown, all I heard was wah, 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 wah. I finally said, "I'm sorry, Mr. President, but I haven't heard a word you said, because I'm in awe of this country. What a great country that you could become president of the United States." And he turned to me quick as a flash and he said, "Yes, but what a great country that you could become Tyler Perry." From that moment, I went and I bought a bigger studio. I bought Fort McPherson Army Base. Right now, where we hire thousands of people are coming through that doors. And I don't care what was stacked up against me. I don't care. I didn't pay attention to that. What I paid attention to was, how do I help somebody? I broke through that door, laid it down on its side, and let it become a ramp so that somebody else can get hired too. You want to hear something about an American dream? Fort McPherson was once a Confederate Army base, where there were Confederate soldiers trying to plot and plan on how to keep 3.9 million Negroes enslaved. Now that land is owned by me. Let's talk about an American dream. It's seniors working so hard and working hard and seniors working hard. And what I realized when I bought it, that seniors around, their taxes were going through the roof. So what I did was, I was like, no, you're not going to come here and take these seniors' houses. I paid everybody's taxes off for years so that they can keep their houses. When an 85-year-old woman in Coweta County lost her house to a fire and wanted a place for all her grandkids, I rebuilt that house for her. Most recently, I saw in the AJC a story where there was a woman who hired this contractor and he gutted her house and left her there with nothing. She was living in a house with no plumbing and no walls for years. I rebuilt that house for her. Why am I telling you this? I'm not telling you this to be bragging. What I'm telling you about it is, what I want you to understand is I have compassion for our seniors. So when a candidate says that we have lowered the cost of insulin to $35 for seniors, that candidate has my vote. I put many kids through college, and recently there was a woman who was murdered by her husband, and she had 3 kids that were college age. I put all those kids through college. So when I hear a candidate say, we are going to do what we can to reduce student loan debt, that is a candidate that I can stand with. I stand with a candidate who has an American dream for everyone. She stands with us. And she has an American dream for our children. And let me tell you something about the children. I don't know if you remember, but her DNC speech was great, right? But there's a moment that you may have missed. When the cameras were rolling and she was walking around and the balloons are falling and confetti's falling, I'm watching her smile and wave. Her family comes out. But there are two little girls on the stage. And I see her constantly making sure they're okay, not getting too close to the edge. That's what you want. See, the little things will tell you about the heart of a person. In that speech, she talked about how we have more in common than what separates us. So, Georgia, I want to put that to the test. I didn't have a father who gave me millions of dollars to start a business. Did you? Didn't think so. My mother didn't have some great legacy, but she taught me how to pray my way through a situation. It sounds like we have that in common. I'm the kind of American that believes in a secure border, but at the same time believes that if anyone is coming seeking legal asylum, our arms should be open to them. I'm the kind of American that believes that if you are running for office, you shouldn't sink and tank a bipartisan bill to help the border so that you could use it for your own glory. If you are like me, I've worked my ass off to buy my first house and build my business and take care of my family. That is the American dream. I believe if you work that hard, and you put into Social Security, when you get to a certain age, that you put in should be there waiting for you because it's yours. I believe that we all should have affordable health care and it not be replaced with the concept of a plan. What the hell? I'm the kind of American that believes that no matter what your party, we ought to be able to sit down and have civil conversation so that we can work toward a solution, the same as I do with our governor, Brian Kemp. I'm the kind of man that believes, I'm the kind of man that believes that the government nor a man should be telling a woman what she can and cannot do with her body. I'm the kind of American who believes that poll workers should do their civic duty without being harassed and threatened like Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss in Fulton County. And I am not the kind of American that glories in, enjoys, laughs at, or celebrates an 80-year-old man being hit with a hammer because his wife is in politics and you don't agree with her. And two things can be true at once. I am not the kind of man that glory in, celebrates, enjoy, or laughs at a 78-year-old former president almost meeting his death at an assassin's bullet in Butler's, Pennsylvania. It's not right. It's about decency, America, and I think you agree with me. But I am the kind of American that believes if you lose an election, that you honor the constitutional, peaceful transfer of power. And judging by your reaction, I believe Kamala is right. We have more in common than what separates us. As I'm closing here, I just want to talk about that quilt that I used to wrap up in my grandmother's car, that quilt that my grandmother gave me. That quilt was a tapestry of beautiful pieces, but I completely ignored it. I didn't think it was worth anything because she had made it from all of these stitches and gave it to me as a gift. And I was walking past this antique store years later, and I saw one in the window, and I go, wow, that's a beautiful quilt. It reminds me of my grandmother. So I walk in, I talk to the lady. She started explaining to me that each patch in that quilt was worth this and meant this because of the woman who made it. So when I think about America, I think about my grandmother's quilt. We are all shapes, sizes, and colors, but we are one. And it was so important for me to stand with a candidate who understands that we as America, we are a quilt. And I could never stand with a candidate who wants America to be a sheet. So today, I voted for Kamala Harris. And Georgia, it was only about 11,400 votes that separated Trump and Biden. So every vote counts. So I stand here, full-throated, with my full chest, begging you, imploring you, let's get out and make Kamala Harris the 47th president of the United States of America. Thank you, everybody. God bless you. I'm done with all I have to say except one thing. That man who was in the beast with me, you know him, Michelle's husband. One I've always admired and looked up to, and I'm glad to be able to say this. Ladies and gentlemen, the 44th President of the United States, Mr. Barack Obama.
Are you fired up? Are you ready to go? It is good to be back in Georgia. Good to be back in Atlanta. And this is quite a lineup you've had here. You got my buddy Bruce Springsteen. You got Tyler Perry. You got a couple of guys from those Capital One commercials. If that doesn't get you fired up to vote, I don't know what will. Now, you've heard this already. I am going to repeat it. We are going to keep repeating it. Here in Georgia, early voting has already started. So if you have not already, go vote. Return your absentee ballot. If you're going to vote, remember to bring your photo ID. If you need to figure out where to go to iwillvote.com/GA. And then you get your friends and you get your family to make a plan to vote. Because together we have a chance to choose a new generation of leadership in this country and start building a better and stronger and fairer and more hopeful America. Now, yeah, I love you too. Now we know this election is going to be tight because a lot of Americans are still struggling. As a country, we've been through a lot. As a country, we've been through a lot over the last few years. We had a historic pandemic that wreaked havoc on communities and businesses. And then disruptions from the pandemic caused price hikes that put a strain on family budgets. And people feel like no matter how hard they work, sometimes it feels like they're just treading water. So I get why people are looking to shake things up. What I cannot understand is why anybody would think that Donald Trump will shake things up in a way that is good for you, because there is absolutely no evidence that this man thinks about anybody but himself. I've said it before. Donald Trump is a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down that golden escalator 9 years ago. And when he's not complaining, when he's not sending out crazy tweets, he's trying to sell you stuff. He's trying to sell you gold sneakers. Trying to sell you a $100,000 watch. Trying to sell you a Trump Bible. Wants to sell you the Word of God, Donald Trump edition. Got his name right there next to Matthew and Luke. Now, you cannot make this stuff up. If this was on a Saturday Night Live skit, you'd say, well, no, that's crazy. But he's doing it because all he cares about is his ego, his money, his status. That's his mindset. Those are his intentions. And then there's the question of his competence. I mean, have you seen Donald Trump lately? He out there giving 2-hour speeches, just word salad. Said the other day, January 6th was a day of love, he said that. Like it was Woodstock or Coachella. If your grandpa was acting like this, you'd call up your brother, call up your cousin, you say, hey, have you noticed Grandpa? He acting kind of funny right now. But here's the interesting thing, is he acts so crazy and it's become so common that people no longer take it seriously. I'm here to explain to you, just because he acts goofy does not mean his presidency wouldn't be dangerous. And you do not have to take my word for it. Lately, some of the people who know Donald Trump best have been saying in no uncertain terms that he should not be president again. The other day, General John Kelly, Donald Trump's former chief of staff, said that Trump told him he wanted his generals to be like Hitler's generals. Now, don't boo. Vote. Now, I want to explain that in politics, a good rule of thumb is don't say you want to do anything like Hitler. You know, that's just good political advice. But it is useful because it gives us a window into how Donald Trump thinks. And John Kelly isn't the only one saying this. 2 of his defense secretaries, people who worked for him, said the same thing. His chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that is the top of the top brass in our military, said he is dangerous. Now, I happen to know John Kelly and Mark Miller. They served under me when I was commander-in-chief. These are serious people. This is a decorated soldier and Marine who served in battle. They are not, quote-unquote, woke liberals. They are people who have never, in the past, even talked about politics because they believe that the military should be above politics. But the reason they're speaking up is because they have seen that in Donald Trump's mind, the military does not exist to serve the Constitution or the American people. He doesn't see being commander-in-chief as a solemn, sacred responsibility, just like everything else. He thinks the military exists to do his bidding, to serve his interests. He said if he's elected, he'll use that military to go after, quote, the enemy within, which he defines as anybody who criticizes him or refuses to bend the knee. He can't handle that. And unlike last time, unlike the first time, he won't have people like John Kelly around to stop him. He'll be surrounded by people who are just as loony as he is and who will let him do what he wants. And so my question to you, Georgia, is how is any of that going to help you? We do not need 4 years of a wannabe king, a wannabe dictator running around trying to punish his enemies. That's not what you need in your life. America's ready to turn the page. We are ready for a better story. Georgia, we're ready for a President Kamala Harris. And the good news is that Kamala Harris is ready for the job. This is a leader who has spent her life fighting on behalf of people who need a voice, who need a champion. Kamala wasn't born into privilege. She was raised in a middle-class family. She worked at McDonald's when she was in college to pay her expenses. She didn't pretend to work at McDonald's when it was closed for a photo op. She actually cares what people are going through because she's seen it in her own family, in her own life. As a prosecutor, Kamala stood up for children who'd been victims of sexual abuse. As Attorney General of California, fought the big banks and for-profit colleges, secured billions of dollars for people after they'd been scammed. After the home mortgage crisis, Kamala pushed me and my administration hard to make sure homeowners got a fair settlement. It didn't matter that I was a Democrat, that she had knocked on doors for my campaign in Iowa. She was not going to let anybody stop her from winning as much relief as possible for families who deserved it. So the point I'm making, if you elect Kamala Harris, she will not be focused on her problems, her ego, her money. She's going to be focused on you. She's going to be focused on you. Kamala understands that too many folks here in Georgia and across the country are struggling to pay the bills. Now, understand, wages are steadily growing. Unemployment is low. Inflation is finally slowing. But we all know the price of everything from housing to health care to groceries is still too high. And it hurts. She understands that. The question is, who's really going to do something about it? So Donald Trump's plan is to give another massive tax cut to billionaires and big corporations. Because he was a reality star on The Apprentice, there's some folks who think, well, I don't know, he's a businessman. He must know something about the economy. I've heard people say this, right? I'll talk to them. Why would you think about voting for this guy? Well, they're all, well, I remember the economy when he first came in. It was pretty good. Yeah, it was good because it was my economy. I had spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left me. And then I handed over 75 straight months of job growth to Donald Trump. And all he did was give tax cuts to folks who didn't need it, drove up the deficit in the process, and now he wants to do it again. You can't give him credit for that. And then I hear, the other thing I hear, some folks will be like, well, Donald Trump sent me a check during the pandemic. No, y'all know, because I've heard this. I know y'all, some of you heard that. Hey, let me make sure y'all understand this. Joe Biden sent you a check during the pandemic, just like I gave people relief during the Great Recession. The thing is, we didn't put our name on it because it wasn't about feeding our egos. It wasn't about advancing our politics. It was about helping people. That's the difference. Don't be giving them credit for that. Come on. He sent you a check. Do not fall for that okie doke. Don't be bamboozled. Don't get fooled. And don't get fooled when he talks about health care either. You ask Donald Trump what he's going to do to make health care more affordable. His only answer is end Obamacare, end the Affordable Care Act. He doesn't really know why he wants to end it, except for the fact that I passed it. The problem he's got now is that it's popular, because 50 million people have gotten health care because of it. So, a couple weeks ago, you remember during the vice presidential debate, his running mate had the nerve, had the chutzpah to say that Donald Trump, quote, salvaged the Affordable Care Act. Donald Trump spent his entire presidency trying to tear that thing down. And he couldn't even do that right. And now, 8 years after he was elected, when he was asked, well, what are you going to do? He says, well, I've got concepts of a plan for how he'd replace it. Now, I want y'all to think about this for a second. Let's say your boss on the job gives you an assignment, says, I need it by Friday. Friday rolls around, your boss says, so did you finish that project I asked you to do? And you say, well, I haven't actually started, but I got a concept for a plan. Or you could try this at home. Honey, did you throw out the trash? I have a concept of a plan to throw out the trash. How's that going to go over? On the couch. That's how it'll go over. If it wouldn't work for you, why should it work for the next president of the United States? The good news is that Kamala Harris doesn't have concepts of a plan. She got a plan to make your life better. She's going to go after corporations that unfairly jack up prices. She's going to make it easier to build and buy a home. She's going to limit out-of-pocket health care costs. She's going to give a tax cut to 100 million middle-class families and working Americans. And if Congress passes a bill to restore the reproductive freedom that women had for nearly 50 years, the freedom that Donald Trump bragged about taking away, Kamala will sign it into law. It's an example of how elections matter. And I have to say, I get why folks get frustrated with politics. I do too sometimes. I don't watch cable news, because sometimes I get why people block it out. It just seems like everybody arguing and fussing. But I always tell people, look, politics, it's not going to solve all your problems. No president is going to eliminate poverty in one term or eliminate racism, because those problems are hard. It takes steps, a little bit at a time, but your vote matters, because that little bit of a time, that incremental improvement, that adds up. And things can get a little better, or they can get a little or a lot worse. When I was president, we did not solve all problems with our healthcare system, but 50 million people getting health insurance that didn't have it before, that made a difference. You know somebody who has health insurance because of it. And I'm going to give you another example. When I was president, we put together an entire playbook for how to deal with a pandemic, because we had dealt with Ebola, we had dealt with the H1N1 virus. We put together a plan, and we practiced, and we had all the agencies in terms of how you're going to deal with the schools and how we're going to do with the public health agencies. And we put it all together, and when Donald Trump came in, we gave him that playbook. And he, I guess, dropped it in the dustbin. 3 years later, a pandemic hit. And I want to be fair. Listen to me now. No matter who was president, the pandemic was going to be a huge crisis. People were going to get sick. People were going to die. Businesses were going to close. There'd be travel restrictions. It was a once-in-a-100-year event. But if you look at a country like Canada, the per capita death rate during COVID was 60% lower than it was here in the United States. So you do the math. Over 1 million people died during the pandemic here in the U.S. 60% of over 1 million, that's 600,000 people. That's grandparents. That's aunts. That's uncles, parents, co-workers, friends. Everybody here was touched by it. Some people might have been alive if we had had a competent administration who was paying attention and trying to do things better instead of talking about injecting bleach into your arm. Now, you remember that if somebody tells you, it doesn't make a difference. It will not make things perfect, but it does make a difference. To have somebody who is competent, somebody who sees you, somebody who respects you, somebody who cares about you, somebody who understands your dreams. And you need to remind folks who are still on the sidelines that the election is about more than just policies. It's about values, and it is about character. Some of you know when I was growing up, I didn't have a father in the house. But I did have people around me, stepfather, grandparents, teachers, coaches, and most of all, my mother, who tried to teach me the difference between right and wrong, who showed me what it meant to be honest and responsible, to work hard, to treat other people the way I wanted to be treated. And look, I was a knucklehead sometimes when I was a kid, and I didn't always live up to those values, even as a young adult. But over time, I internalized those values. And as an adult, I said, this is what I need to stand on. This is my foundation. And I suspect most of you grew up the same way. And one of the most disturbing things about this election and about Trump's rise in politics is how we seem to have set the values we were taught aside. How we seem to disregard them. How we pretend they don't matter. When Donald Trump lies about hurricane aid, you've got a hurricane in North Carolina, people desperate, and he and his vice president candidate deliberately circulate rumors that that money is being given to illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, as opposed to people who are desperate. When he cheats or shows utter disregard for our Constitution, when he calls service members who died in battle losers, or fellow citizens vermin, people make excuses for it. They act like it's okay as long as their side wins. And I've noticed this especially with some men who seem to think Trump's behavior is a sign of strength, that macho, I'm going to own these folks. I'm going to put them down. I am here to tell you, that is not what real strength is. It never has been. Real strength is about working hard and taking responsibility and telling the truth even when it's inconvenient. Real strength is about helping people who need it and standing up for those who can't always stand up for themselves. That's what we should want in our daughters and our sons. And that's what I want to see in the President of the United States of America. And the good news is we've got a candidate to vote for in this election who demonstrates that kind of character, who knows what real strength looks like, who will set a good example and do the right thing and leave this country better than she found it. That is what this election is about. And that is why it is my honor to introduce my friend, the next President of the United States of America, Vice President Kamala Harris.
Barack Obama. Oh, it's good to be back in Atlanta. All right. So, I love you too. I love you too. So you all may know, it was 17 years ago. It was over 17 years ago when I took a trip to Springfield, Illinois. It was a cold February day, and I went there to support this brilliant young senator who was running for president of the United States. And millions of Americans were energized and inspired, not only by Barack Obama's message, but by how he leads, seeking to unite rather than separate us. And that is why in 2007, I went New Year's Eve to Iowa to knock on doors in the snow. And all these years later, Barack Obama, I say to you, your friendship and your faith in me and in our campaign means the world. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. And we have some extraordinary leaders with us tonight, and I thank everybody who's here for taking time out of your busy lives to spend this evening together. I want to thank Georgia's congressional delegation, all the local and community leaders who are here with us. Let's please give it up for Samuel L. Jackson, Spike Lee, Tyler Perry, and the great American poet Bruce Springsteen. So Atlanta, before I was Vice President of the United States, before I was a United States Senator, and before that a two-term Attorney General for the state of California, and before that a district attorney and a courtroom prosecutor, and in those roles I took on perpetrators of all kinds, predators, fraudsters, and repeat offenders. I took them on and I won. Well, Georgia, in 12 days, it's Donald Trump's turn. It's his turn. just 12 days left in one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime. And I don't need to tell you, voting has already started. And everybody here knows it's going to be a tight race until the very end. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. But we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is joyful work. And make no mistake, we will win. We will win. We will win. Or as a certain former president would say, yes, we can. Yes, we will, and yes, we can. And here's why we're going to win. We are going to win because we together are fighting for the future. We are fighting for the future. We here understand we have an opportunity before us to turn the page on the fear and divisiveness that have characterized our politics for a decade because of Donald Trump. We have the opportunity to turn the page and chart a new way and a joyful way forward. A way that taps into the ambitions, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And I will tell you, as I travel our country, there is an overwhelming call for a fresh start, for a new generation of leadership that is optimistic and excited about what we can do together. There is a yearning for a president of the United States who will see you, who gets you, and who will fight for you. In my whole career, I have put the people before partisanship. I never once asked somebody, are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? Instead, I always asked, how can I help you? And that is a major difference between Donald Trump and me, and between the two very different, extremely different visions that he and I have for our nation. One, his focused on the past and himself. The other, ours, focused on the future and you. Together, we will build a future where we bring down the cost of living, and that will be my focus every single day as President of the United States. Because look, while inflation is down and wages are up, prices are still too high. You know it and I know it. And unlike Donald Trump, who had $400 million served to him on a silver platter and still managed to file for bankruptcy 6 times, he talks about being a good businessman. Come on. Unlike him, I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood with a working mother who kept a strict budget and did everything she could to make sure my sister and I had all that we needed. I come from the middle class, and I will never forget where I come from. I will never forget where I come from. Which is why my common sense plan will lower the prices you pay on everything from prescription drugs to groceries to housing. On the other hand, Donald Trump will raise costs on you and your families. In fact, independent economists have analyzed our plans and found that mine will cut your costs and strengthen our economy. His will increase inflation and lead to a recession by the middle of next year. These are independent economists, Nobel laureate, prize-winning economists who have reviewed our plans and are very clear. And his agenda is all laid out in Project 2025. A detailed and dangerous blueprint for what he will do if he is elected president. And look, Donald Trump intends to impose a 20% Trump national sales tax on everyday basic necessities, which will cost the average family nearly $4,000 a year. On the other hand, I will take on price gouging, corporate price gouging. I've done it before, and I will do it again. Donald Trump will give massive tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations, exactly like he did the last time he was president. I will give middle-class tax cuts to 100 million Americans, including $6,000 during the first year of a child's life, that will also lift America's children out of poverty. Donald Trump will get rid of the $35 cap on insulin for seniors. He will cut Medicare and Social Security. In fact, economists have reported he will bankrupt Social Security in just 6 years. My plan is a plan to support our seniors so that they can grow older with dignity, and so their families, you are not overwhelmed by the cost of home health care. And on top of that, my plan will bring down the cost of housing, cut taxes for small businesses. Where are the small businesses in the house? You are the backbone of America's economy, all of you. And we will lower health care costs because I believe health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. Donald Trump, on the other hand, intends to end the Affordable Care Act, or like we like to call it, Obamacare. And he wants to take us back to when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. Well, we are not going back. We are not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. No, we are not. Because we will move forward, and it is time to turn the page. Ours is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom. For freedom, like the fundamental freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. And we remember how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe versus Wade, and they did as he intended. And now, in America, 1 in 3 women lives in a state with a Trump abortion ban. I don't need to tell the folks here, except for Virginia, in every state in the South, including Georgia, there is a Trump abortion ban. Many with no exceptions, even for rape and incest. And let me tell you, the idea that someone who survives a crime of a violation to their body would be told they don't have the authority to make a decision about what happens to their body next, that is immoral. It is immoral. It is immoral. And everybody here knows one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do. Not the government If she chooses, she will talk with her pastor, her priest, her rabbi, her imam, but not the government, not some folks up in a state capitol telling her what to do with her own body. And notice Donald Trump still refuses to even acknowledge the pain and the suffering he has caused. He insists that, quote, everybody wanted for Roe versus Wade to be overturned, which is just a further example of how out of touch the man is. Everybody wanted this. Women are being denied care during miscarriages, some only being treated once they develop sepsis. They didn't want this. Couples just trying to grow their family have been cut off in the middle of IVF treatments. They didn't want this. Women have died because of these bans, including a young mother of a 6-year-old son right here in Georgia. Her family is here with us tonight, and we speak her name, Amber Nicole Thurman. And you all have heard me say, look, I do believe Donald Trump to be an unserious man. And the consequences of him ever being president again are brutally serious. These are just some of the consequences of the Trump abortion bans and what he does and what he's likely to do. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom nationwide, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. Proudly. And across our nation, we are witnessing a full-on assault on other hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights, fundamental freedoms and rights, like Georgia knows, attacks on the freedom to vote, attacks on the freedom to be safe from gun violence, the freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water, the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. And as Atlanta knows well, generations of Americans before us led the fight for freedom. And now the baton is in our hands. It is in our hands. And so I'd like to speak in particular to all the young leaders that I see here this evening. I see you. I see you. I see you. And to you I say, you all have grabbed the baton. I've seen what you do, and I see how you are doing it, because you are rightly impatient for change. You, who have only known the climate crisis, are leading the charge to protect our planet and our future. You, young leaders who grew up with active shooter drills, are fighting to keep our schools safe. You, who know now fewer rights than your mothers and grandmothers, are standing up for reproductive freedom. And I know it is because for you, I say to our young leaders, this is not theoretical. This is not political. This is your lived experience. And what I love about you is you are not waiting for other people to figure this out. So I see you and I see your power, and I know so many of you are voting for the first time and know that our future is so good with you all at the helm. And I'm so proud of you. Can we hear it for our young leaders and first-time voters? So listen, so much is on the line in this election, and this is not 2016 or 2020. The stakes are even higher, Because over the last years, and in particular the last 8 years, Donald Trump has become more confused, more unstable, and more angry. You see it every day. He has become increasingly unhinged. But last time, at least there were people around him who could control him. But do notice in this election, they're not with him this time. In fact, just this week, America heard from John Kelly, a retired 4-star Marine general who was Trump's White House chief of staff, who said that as president, Trump praised Hitler. Take a moment to think about what that means. That Trump said, quote, Hitler did some good things. And that Trump wished he had generals like Hitler's who would be loyal to Trump and not to America's Constitution. This is not 2016 and it is not 2020. Including because just a few months ago, the United States Supreme Court told the former president that he is effectively immune no matter what he does in the White House. Now just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails. He who will claim unchecked and extreme power if he is reelected, who has vowed that he will be a dictator on day one, who calls Americans who disagree with him, I'm going to quote, the enemy from within. You know what that harkens back to? He's calling Americans the enemy within, who says that he would use the military to go after them. And he who has called for the, quote, termination of the Constitution of the United States. Let us be very clear. Someone who suggests we should terminate the Constitution of the United States of America should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States of America. Never again. Never again. We're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. So, America, there is a huge contrast in this election. Just imagine the Oval Office in 3 months. Picture it in your mind. It is either so, but there's a choice that everybody has. So let's imagine it for a moment. It's either Donald Trump in there stewing over his enemies list, or me working for you, checking off my to-do list. You have the power to make that decision. It is your power. It is your power. So, 12 days. All right. So, okay, we got work to do. We got work to do. Okay, so Georgia, listen, it all comes down to this. We are here together because we know what is at stake. We are here together because we love our country. We love our country. And I do believe it is one of the highest forms of patriotism to fight then for the ideals of our country and to fight to realize the promise of America. That's why we are here. And as the great Congressman John Lewis reminded us, democracy is not a state, it is an act. So Georgia, now is our time to act, and together we will win. We will win. We will win. So, Election Day. So, Election Day is in 12 days, okay? 12 days. And early voting has already started. So, Georgia, we need you to vote early. Please vote early. Go to iwillvote.com to get all the information you might need. Because, folks, the election is here. It is here. It is upon us. And the choice is truly in your hands. Your vote is your voice. And your voice is your power. So, Georgia, I ask you, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win! God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.